Welcome back. So in the previous module we looked at tools that is available for mail flow troubleshooting. We looked at the NDR, we looked at client connectivity tools and so on. And now we're going to go into the message header, and we're going to focus on what is that valuable information that's inside of the message header. So Andy, can you show us some more information on the message header and why that is so important?
Yes, again, the message header is going to be your raw information. This is going to be any email server, when it delivers a message, it's going to start recording data of what's going on as it's being delivered, so that you can have a complete diagnostics within the message itself to understand what happened in the process, and if there's a failure in the process, you can understand why it failed. So just looking at the message headers, there's two different types of basic headers, right? There's going to be ones that pass, and then there's going to be ones that fail. So let's go ahead and look at a message that actually passed. So if to get to the message header, it's pretty much the same regardless of what system that you use. I'm going to show you both in Outlook and in OWA. So actually in Outlook we can go right to the message here, and if you actually open up the message, the standard way I guess would be if you open up the message, and if you go to File, and if you go to Properties, okay, you're going to see Internet Headers. Now, Internet Headers is going to be a little bit older name that just kept on coming through the products. Today, it's more commonly known as the message headers, but some of your old school veterans, they're going to call it Internet Headers still. So all you need to do is essentially you can take that out, copy, and you can just paste it into Notepad, and just paste it there. So as you can see, this is essentially the raw data of what happened when a successful message, in our case, in this case at least, what happened when it got delivered from where? Even looking in the message header, you can see it's from myself, I'm sorry, to my demo accounts, and CCing my other demo account. Okay, so that's one way of collecting the message header. I promise you that I'll show you the other ways. Another way to do it, and actually here in Outlook, if you didn't want to go File and Properties, you can actually, under Tags, there's a little arrow pointing to the bottom right to expand the tags, so to say, and that's actually the message headers, the whole property of the message. Again, it would show you right here. Again, if you wanted to do this from OWA, what you would do is, I just go to here to OWA. I can go to this user right here. And here, sometimes you can see on the message, if it hasn't been forwarded or hasn't been manipulated, you can go right to the message I guess this would be called not the preview pane, but the actual folder view. Folder content view, and you can go right click and go right to view message details. But there's going to be some messages where you won't be able to do that because because of the way that Exchange works today. You have the conversation view, and there's multiple messages inside the conversation view. So let's go ahead and pull this up, and let me pull this one up. Okay, I can't pull it up from here. If I right click it, there's no view like here. I was able to view message details, but here I cannot, because this message, it's hard to see, but you can see it doesn't have view message details, and part of it is because it's going to be right here. But if you go to inside the message, the actual message, not the message that was sent, because again, in the conversation view, this is sort of a side note, in the conversation view you have the message that was sent, and then I have the NDR. The nice thing about Exchange, for various reasons, you might use this to kind of get a collapsed view of what happened when it was sent, all the way to whatever the NDR that was delivered. Well, we want to get the message header from the NDR that was delivered, and if you go to that specific message, here you can get view message details. Here we don't have any because it's here it is. Okay, so here you can take this, same thing, you just click anywhere on it, Control A to select it all, copy it out, and then we can throw it right into, let's throw it into another Outlook or another Notepad. Okay, and here we have the NDR, and what does that look like? Again, the purpose of this message header is meant to be the raw data. But even with the raw data, I mean, there's so many nice tools out there that will help us to determine what's going on. So what you want to do is you want to take this NDR and you want to filter it through some of our tools. So, but most of the times when you get this, when an end user gets an NDR and you don't have the NDR yourself, what you want to do is you need to ask the end user to send you the NDR. The best thing that you could do is, I'm going to go ahead and close these. The best thing that you can do actually is to actually go to the user himself and then copy that information yourself. Or you can direct them to do it, to do exactly this, view message details, copy, paste, put it into the email message, into a new email message, or into a notepad, save it as a text file, and to send it to yourself. The reason for that is because if I took this NDR and then I forwarded it, let's say I forward it to myself as the administrator, it might manipulate the NDR in a way that it's going to look differently. Mm-hmm. Again, it's always better to get the raw data as it was delivered. So therefore, what I always recommend, and what I always do, is I go ahead and I just discard this. And what I'll do is, like, if it was this user is right here. It's the demo A user. Well, if I was on the phone with him, I would just ask demo A, could you, go into the message where the NDR is, click on the, the arrow that's pointing down to view message details, take that, copy it all. Could you please put that into the notepad, save it to your desktop, or no, better yet, let's save a little bit of time. We already have it in the clipboard. I don't need it there, so don't save it. And create a new message and then send it to me as the administrator. And you can paste it right in there. Okay. And then you can take that. Once I've received this message, now we can start using the tools. So let's go on to the next question, which is, well, what tools could I use? I would say the best tool that we can use here is going to be EXRCA. Again, in a couple sessions ago, we talked about EXRCA to do the Outlook connectivity, and if you didn't remember, we also remember the screen, which is the Support and Recovery Assistant. Again, a great tool to help diagnose Outlook connectivity issues and a lot of other things, such as verifying users' credentials, licensing issues, updates to Outlook, where updates are missing, things like that. So our tool will cover all that. However, inside the Remote Connectivity Analyzer, we do have this portion called a Message Header Analyzer. Okay, what the Message Header Analyzer, instead of looking at it in the raw format, it will take that raw format, and if I paste it inside here, analyze the header, you'll see that the message header, the whole message header, can actually be broken down into different headers. And it'll put it into nice table format in order to show you what exactly has happened. Well, at the very top, it'll give you a summary. Well, this was the subject of the message, this was the message ID, this was when it was done, and this is who it was from, this is who it's to. Okay? We're also going to see, this is the hops that it took. It went from my local on-premise environment to another server on-premise, and this is my edge server, and then went from there, my edge server, to the, it actually went to my hybrid server, okay, hybrid to another queue in a hybrid server, and then from that hybrid server, finally it delivers it to the cloud via connector. So you'll see the hops of what happened. This is much better than reading it here, is it not? Because you can see the actual same information here. If I read the message here, you see it's coming from here to here, right? Here to here, it's there. Mm-hmm. But here it's a little bit more difficult because my next hop, I need to go from here to here. And then my next hop from here to here, right? You're going bottom up.
Yeah, so you have to read backwards.
Yeah, so where this is a little bit more, user-friendly. Okay, so from here to here, here to here, here to here, here to here. And using the vernacular that we used earlier, from the A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, so on and so forth. And in addition to that, now it's in a table format. We can see the times that it was received, and then we can also see the delays. Okay, this is going to be key, right? The delays, like, okay, well, everything looks normal, but here, why was it 2 minutes? 2 minutes to be, in all actuality, that's not a long time. Email, as much as end users want to don't want to believe, but email still is not a real-time communication, such as phone or instant messaging. Email will get there when it gets there. There's a lot of things involved that are out of people's control, such as the internet. There's sending server to receiving server. There's a lot of different things that can happen in the middle. So it's not a true real-time tool, but we try to make it as real-time as possible. So therefore, that's why we get that's why we do want to look at the delays that are in the message headers. So moving down in the message header, we also get more information, such as the forefront anti-spam information. Again, forefront's a little bit of an older name, but essentially this is the EOP information on the spam confidence interval. That's key, right, to determining if the message is spam or not. 1 is a pretty low score. 9 would probably be considered a high score, and most likely would end up being in a junk mail folder. Moving down, we also can see, the anti-spam header stuff, the BCL and the phishing confidence level. Okay, those, it didn't think it was either of those, so therefore it did give it a score of 0. And then it just gives you the rest of the headers. Again, this is much easier to read because it's in a table instead of reading this. Right? It's all there. It's the same information. It's just presented a little bit differently. That's why we always recommend just throwing it inside here. Even as a vet who's a little bit more used to reading this, I think I'm pretty comfortable with reading this. My preference today is definitely to read it inside here. Much easier.
Yeah, this is a lot cleaner, and the other format you might miss something because it's in between anything or all those other things, but in here it's a nice table, and you can find that setting specifically that could be a problem much easier.
Right. And inside this message right here, if I was doing it the old way, I would have to search, just do a Control F and just search for certain keywords that I know would be important. I wanted to check the SCL. Okay, so that's the SCL. I wanted to check the, if it did a DMARC check. I don't have anything with DMARC. Did it do DKIM? Okay. Oh, actually, I might be going the wrong way because I know it does DKIM. So DKIM is none. Okay, so it didn't have to do that check. So again, you definitely would have to be more familiar with what you need to look for. Again, life is just made a little bit easier here. For instance, I wanted to look. You can still do the search here, right? This is a web page. You can do any type of search. But I know that DKIM would fall under the authentication results, and right here, there you go. DMARC none, DKIM none, for instance.
Okay.
You want to get the from, the to, the date, language. That will all be here and just in a table format. That would be much easier for you to read.
Wow, that's really good information, and I like that Microsoft has made this available through the remote connectivity analyzer page. You just copy and paste that header right in there, you analyze the header, and you get all of that nice information in there. So when we move on and we look at other things like, for example, extended message traces. So this is where we want to see how the mail flowed through the system. And let's look at a few demos around that.
Message traces is just another tool that we can use to troubleshoot mail flow. This would be most important whenever you have a situation where a user does send an email message to a customer or to another recipient, whether or not they're a customer or not, and they don't get an NDR. You waited and they just don't have an NDR for you to use to troubleshoot. At this point in time, it would be up to an administrator or somebody with admin privileges to be able to go onto the system and then ask the server. So again, we know that the message header is diagnostic information that's inside, that's packaged as part of the message being delivered, every single point that it touches to give a forensics trace of where the message has been, where the email servers themselves also have their own forensics to show that, okay, I received this message with this ID at this time, and then the next one, this message, this ID at this time, so on and so forth. And that's what we would use the message trace utility to do. And there are two different types of message traces. There's the standard message trace, and then there's the extended message trace. The difference between the two is just pretty subtle in terms of how you set it up, but as far as the information that's provided, it is going to be much different. So for both of those, you would have to go into your portal. So if we just go ahead and go into my portal right here on my screen, I am logged in as a tenant administrator right now, and as the tenant administrator I can see that I have my Office 365 Admin Center. I went to by going to portal.office.com, and in order to go to the to get the message tracing, what I need to do is I need to go to the Exchange Admin Center. To get to the Exchange Admin Center, I need to scroll down all the way at the bottom underneath Admin. It would have Exchange. Clicking on Exchange should open you up into a new tab, and now we are in the Exchange Admin Center obviously to administrate Exchange. Under Exchange Admin Center, we also have the Mail Flow tab. Under the Mail Flow tab, you have the Message Trace. Inside Message Trace, this is where you would go to either get the standard message trace or the extended message trace. Again, there's very subtle in the differences of how to set it up, but the information can be very different. The differences in how you get it is if your message that you're looking for and that you're trying to troubleshoot has been delivered in the sent or delivered in less than 7 days, then the only option that's available is going to be the standard message trace. However, if you have a message that is been sent greater than 7 days ago, or I'm sorry, greater than 7 days ago and has been less than 90 days, then you're eligible for both the standard message trace and the extended message trace. If you have a message that's greater than 90 days, then you would have neither the standard or the extended trace, because we don't have logging for that long of a period. So again, up to 7 days, it would be only standard tracing. 7 to 90 days, you would have the standard or extended traces available. So how do you configure that? Well, we can do that right here in the Exchange Admin Center. Inside the Exchange Admin Center, you have the message trace, and you can see right here. We'll go right to the bottom of this, and you can see the date ranges. Again, if it's a standard message trace that's less than 7 days, then you can just pick any one of these, and you'll always get the standard message trace. Well, again, I stated that in order to get the extended message trace, it has to be older than 7 days. So you would not pick one of these. In order to get an extended message trace, it would definitely have to be older than 7 days, but you would have to configure the search to be over 7 days. So right now, we're still in a custom search, but the custom search is searching when. You can see the start date to end date is today, or it's today's time. So therefore, since today is September 1st, I need to go to a start date that's greater than 7 days ago. Okay, so let's say if I pick the start date 7 days ago, nothing changes. Oh, I'm sorry, it did change. Actually, let me go to, that's 7 days ago. So if I go to the 26th, you can see at the bottom here, there's nothing at the bottom underneath sender or recipient. However, if I change this to 25th, now we're greater than 7 days. Okay, we have this option to include message events and routing details with the report. This is your extended message trace. Okay, this will include more information in the report, and not only that, it's not going to be available in the portal. You actually would package it up, and then you would get the report sent to you via a CSV file. Okay, so for now we're just going to do the regular standard trace. So, and I just want to check some of the messages that were sent recently. So I'm just going to pick something that's in the past 48 hours. Okay, and again, that disappears because it's just a standard trace. What you need to do is you just need to pick when. If you had the message ID, you know exactly what you're looking for. You can paste that in here. If you're looking for something specific as far as delivered, or if you know it failed or whatnot, any of these options, you can pick them, but I'm just going to pick all. I'm going to pick all within the past week. I don't know the message ID, but you definitely, if you don't have the message ID, you need to either pick the sender or the recipient. Okay, you have to pick one or the other. In my case, I'm just going to go ahead and choose the sender. And it should pop up another screen, and here it is. And I'm going to choose my demo account that I'm in right now, which is Demo Mailbox A. Inside Demo Mailbox A, we're going to try to get the standard message trace. Okay, after doing the search, you can see that I sent 2 messages, and actually both of them were today. Okay, I had to test to self and test to another user. If I wanted to, I can do something even greater, expand the search a little bit. Actually, I thought I sent something older than this, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the recipient. I believe I tried sending, no, let's just go back to demo A. Let's just go back to demo A. And my time period, I'm just going to keep it within the past week, and we'll just go with these two messages. I think this should be enough to show you what's going on. So from here, I tried sending in a message to self. The actual message trace, if we open it up, it's actually going to be pretty basic. And this is what, I guess this is good to show because we can show you, this is the basic information we'll get in the standard report. The sender, the recipient, I sent it to myself. Here's the message ID. This will be important because it will allow me to find the, if I wanted to use message ID to find a message, you know, the size, status, and here you can see it was received, it was submitted at this time, and 2 seconds later it was delivered to self. Okay, let's look at what the other message states, and the other message was a little bit more complex because you're going from myself to another user, albeit in the same tenant. It's still going to be, it should have a little bit more information. If I open this up, I can see here that yes, it's going to be a little bit more information here. And as the message, you know, gets a little bit more complex in terms of where it's going, you know, outside the domain, you're going to see it all the way to as far the events you're going to see all the way to the edge of your environment. Obviously, you're not going to be able to get server information from a server outside of your environment. Obviously, that would be a security concern. Anybody opening up their security logs to people outside of the environment would be opening the door for people to just glean information from your environment. So in this case, this is all in-house, so I can see that it was received at this time, it was sent to be transferred, then it was delivered, then it was submitted, and then it was received by the demo B mailbox. Okay, so again, using the standard message trace, we can definitely see here, and we'll be able to prove that, hey, you know, let's say demo A called and said, hey, I sent a message to demo B, and I didn't get an NDR, and I want to know if you received it or not. Well, you can use this to say, yes, he did receive it, or no, he didn't receive it if you didn't see receive here. Okay, so that's one way to look at the standard message trace. I don't have an extended message trace because I don't have messages that were older than 7 days yet, but I did run a report, and if you wanted to look at those reports, again, you do get an email message, and it would have been delivered to my demo mailbox. However, the message isn't ready. So let's check the status of the extended message trace. Well, how come has it started yet? What's going on? Has it been completed? That would be right here under the Mailflow message trace under View, Pending, or Completed Tasks. Under the View, Pending, or Completed Tasks, we're going to be able to see that if we click on it, okay, here it is. Oh, let's close that. And here's the pending or completed requests. I'm going to go and refresh it just in case. And here we can see that neither of them were started. I just started this before our filming, and it still hasn't completed. It does usually take a little bit of time. You do have to wait. But again, once it's done, you're just going to see here that it's completed. But to actually get the data, you're gonna have to check with the notification address. A CSV file will be sent as an attachment to this user. Okay, it would be sent for this one. It would be sent to this user, and this user being whoever's logged in. And again, it would still be demo A. Okay, so that would be your standard and extended message traces. There's also the PowerShell. If you wanted to set up the PowerShell, the commands that you would need to go to do that would be the start historical search. Okay, you can go there to get more information on doing the message trace, and then also you can do the get historical search. As far as doing the PowerShell, you do want to go ahead and let's see, go into the get. You would have to start the search first. So let's actually, so we can see them side by side. Put in the wrong verb. It's not search historical search, it's start historical search. Okay, and you can see here, these are examples of what you would, how you would get those started. Okay, so, and again, that's if you want to do the, this message tracing via the
PowerShell.
Via the PowerShell. I myself think that the easiest way to do it would be through this graphical user interface.
Yeah, that is actually really easy to just do a search in the Exchange Admin Center to find out how or what happened to that message, how it went from one hop to the other hop, and then get that detailed information in there as well. So again, very useful tools to help you troubleshoot message flow. The next thing that we can do with troubleshooting mail flow, obviously a very important tool for people to use, is Telnet. Once you've established that you looked at the NDR, you looked at the information in there, you looked at the message header, you also looked at some traces as well, you have come to the conclusion that maybe there's something wrong on the other side and you have to get down to the nitty-gritty and do a Telnet connection to that server. Can you show us an example of how you can use Telnet to troubleshoot mail flow issues?
Okay, so we would use Telnet to troubleshoot mail issues after you know that, okay, we know that the message is trying to get from your server to another server. For instance, especially after we just did the message trace. Let's say we did the message trace and your server stated that it tried to deliver to another server, and that other server is just in a pending state. So, or the event is in a pending state. So in other words, you're trying to send from your server, you look in the message tracking log, and if you just actually look at my screen, I'll open up one of my message traces. Inside the message trace, again, all of these are what they're supposed to be, but for instance, if you do have a situation where something is pending, you would actually see right here pending. And then from there, what you want to do is you want to see, well, it's trying to get to where. Here, it would, we see it's received by, but if it was in a pending state, you would see that, oh, pending to, whatever the server name is. So that's when you would want to use Telnet. You would want to use Telnet to see, can I connect to that server, at least on a network level? And then also in doing a Telnet test, you'll be able to use Telnet to troubleshoot the actual application layer as well.
Okay, so Telnet is one of those tools that can help you determine if there's any things blocking between your server and another server. So a connection that you establish from your Exchange server that's trying to send out to the other server on the other side might be blocked by something. So there's a couple of examples of things that can be in the way, like for example a firewall on your side or even on that side.
Right.
So, what port is used when we send?
That would be the port 25 for most of the communication. If we're doing, just standard communication and anonymous communication, again, for the most part, email is a communication tool, and you want to be able to you need to have unrestricted access, usually to email from person A at company A to person B at company B. .com. You normally are not going to restrict that, so we need to create and foster an environment that is open, and therefore we need the anonymous connections. You don't need to necessarily encrypt and authenticate on those ports, because normally it might be the first email. I just met you, you gave me your email address, and I want to send an email to you. You never received anything from me, but so therefore it needs to be that anonymous connection.
Okay, so what are the things that we can typically test with Telnet? So can you show us an example of some Telnet sessions and so on that shows us the process of connecting to another server using Telnet.
Yes. So Telnet could definitely be used to test and just can the server get out? If you're doing a Telnet test over port 25 and you're not getting a connection, you're not getting that banner, then chances are there's going to be either you're connecting to a server that's not on the internet, or it could be you can't get onto the internet. Try a different server. Try a server that you know is going to work. For instance, just think about like Outlook.com. Chances are Outlook.com is going to be up. It usually is. So try to connect to that SMTP server and see if you're able to connect to that server. From there, we're able to not only check the server availability, you're also able to check, therefore verify that your server port is open. A lot of organizations, they when they first start, you're going to have your firewall up and you're going to block everything coming in, block everything going out. And let's say the firewall administrator says, okay, I opened a hole for port 25 to go out. Well, in order to test that, you do a Telnet test over port 25. Therefore, you can test and make sure that the firewall is working correctly. Some other things that you can check is the sending of the message as well. So, if we look at my screen, so let's go ahead and if I go and open up any browser and just do a search, I would do a search for how to use Telnet to test SMTP communication. This would be my go-to article if you don't memorize, what the actual commands are for SMTP to do a Telnet test. But going through this will tell you everything that you need to know in order to do a Telnet test. Okay, so in doing the Telnet test, you can just very simply just follow this article, and it'll tell you what commands you need to run in order to test and see if we're able to get a message across at the most purest level. So instead of just reading about it, let's just go ahead and do this. So in order to do this, you just have to open up a command prompt, and then you just have to open up a Telnet session. And if you try to run Telnet and it doesn't open, sometimes you have to go to the Windows programming features and install it as a feature. This would be, the Telnet client would be required. On my computer, it's already installed, so therefore I got Telnet. However, if you did not, you can just very simply go to the control panel, go to programming features, turn on Windows features, right here, and then you'll see right here as one of the Windows features is the Telnet client. Okay. Again, I already installed it. Makes it much easier and much quicker for this demo. So
if you're a server, if it's on a server, you have to go to Server Manager to add the Telnet client.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And again, the Telnet client is not installed by default, so you just have to install it yourself. So I typed in Telnet at the command prompt. I'm able to get the Telnet, and therefore I can get this Telnet prompt. Inside the Telnet prompt, what you want to do is you want to be able to create a connection to where you're trying to connect to. So just going back and to kind of maybe recap a little bit. So let me exit out of here, and actually it would be quit. Okay. Remember, how do I find out what my email server is, right? Mm-hmm. Well, that's
DNS.
In DNS, you do the NS lookup, right? I'm doing the NS lookup for what domain? Or let's actually just do the NS lookup. Let's do set type equal MX, and we're trying to send an email to 2c517.info. Well, 2c517.info has two MX records. I can use either of these, but just to make it simple, I'm just going to use this one. Okay, so I can exit out of this. Oops. Okay, in exiting out of this, now I can do the Telnet test. So in doing Telnet, you can also do it like this. You can do Telnet where you want to go to and then put in the port. But I'm going to do it in it's the old school way. Go into Telnet first, then you want to run open. You want to where your destination is. You can put the C name here. You can put the A name here, or you can put the IP address here.
Okay.
And then the port. In this case, you put port 25. If I did not put port 25, and it would go to the default Telnet port, which is port 23. We don't want to go over port 23 because port 23 is going to be closed, for instance. But here we're trying to test email anyway, so we need to go to port 25. A symptom of connecting to the right place, you're going to see if it's an Exchange server, you're going to see Microsoft SMTP mail server is ready. Okay, ESMTP stands for Enhanced Simple Mail Transfer Protocol. Enhanced just means that we're able to do a little bit more than just
The default protocols.
the default commands. Okay, so here, once we're in Telnet, the Telnet command is actually going to be time sensitive. So I have not a small window, but not a large window of time to enter in all these commands, or before it actually cuts me off. And then two, this is a actual raw session where every character I put in, it's going to enter in. So if I make a mistake, I can't backspace. Okay, so it's very important that I put in the commands as they're supposed to be put in. Okay, so how do I do this? Again, let's go back to the instructions. I did the telnet. I don't need to do this. Set local echo is just for older computers where you need to run that. We don't need to run that here. Instead of doing the open, they did the O. Again, it's just a shortcut for open, port 25. And now we want to go ahead and start with this. Okay, so where am I coming from? Okay, I want to first start at EHLO. That's like saying that's the enhanced and mail server way of saying hello, and ELO and who are you? Okay, for me, I'm just going to put I'm testing.com. Okay, and then once I do that, it's going to give me the 250s. 200 level codes are going to be good. It means I got a response. So it's telling me I can do all these things. Okay, all these things are available for me in terms of testing. And some of the basic commands that I could do would be this one. So I want to go ahead and send a mail from. So therefore, the next command I have is mail from.
So I notice here that it replied with a bunch of commands that it actually supports in this telnet session. So when you connect to another server, it might reply with different commands, and then you know that, for example, there's a size here that says this is the size that we support of the message, and that's valuable information. Maybe you're trying to send a message that is really large.
Yes.
And that size message will then be indicative of the size of the message that you can send to that other domain.
Right, and actually that's a great point. The command that you get from the ELO will actually provide you with important information, especially when you're trying to connect to the cloud. One of the things that needs to happen for certain types of SMTP communication is you need to do the secure communication, and secure SMTP communication is actually done over a different port. The standard for that port is going to be port 587, I believe. I always
Yep, that's it.
Yes, so port 587, and in port 587, you're going to look for a certain command that comes back, and that's going to be the start TLS command. Because if we cannot do a start TLS, then you're not going to be able to initiate a secure session. So if you're looking at the screen here, we actually have a 250 start TLS. So this session to this server right here is eligible for a secure communication. Okay. However, I would most likely try to connect over port 587 as opposed to port 25, just to separate the traffic. So again, just back to what we're doing here, mail from. It says sender okay, that's fine. Sounds like you're good. So receipt 2, and now I need to pick an actual user. Okay, so if I didn't pick a user, I put demo at 2c517.info. Actually, that should fail. Actually, that's going to fail. So actually, I don't know why that passed, but because the recipient on there is not okay, so I'm going to have to break out of this because I want to show a successful delivery. So I'm going to break out of this. I'm going to open a new session, and again here I want to go elo testing.com to initiate the session. There I want to go to mail. I messed it up because if I do this, I can't. It doesn't affect. And even if I try to complete it, even though visually it looks okay, it's going to say unrecognized command. Okay, so from here, I want to go ahead and redo it. Mail from, and making sure I type it correctly at test.com. Now it says sender okay. Here I want to do receipt 2, oh, receipt, yes, receipt 2, and it's going to be demo A at 2C517.info. Okay, recipient OK. Again, just refer back to here if you forget. And now we want to do what? We want to do data. And again, I'm just going to go to my demo mailbox just to show you I don't have any test messages, so there's no smoke and mirrors here. There's truly no new messages here. But going back to here, I'm going to go to data. When I go to data, now I can put in the data portion of my message. So most messages will have a subject, so I want to put in the subject. In order to do that, it's just very simple. Put subject colon, and now you can put in the subject line. I can put this is my subject line. Okay. I hit enter. I can keep on adding to the subject line, or if I'm done with the subject line, I just need to put a blank space here. No space bar, no nothing. Just hit enter one more time. Now it's going to enter the message body area. So now I can put this is the message body. Okay, and actually that I is going to show up there. You see I mistyped it. So we're going to see the I, the mistype in there. I'm going to hit enter here. And it doesn't matter how many times I hit enter, it's going to still be part of the subject, right? So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and sign it. And I'll hit enter as many times as I want. It doesn't matter. So in order to end the message body, what you need to do is you need a period by itself in order to end the message. Now it's going to queue the mail from delivery because it has the mail from, receipt to, and then the data with the subject and the message body.
And it's got a status there of 250, which means it's good. That received that message.
Right.
Yeah.
So at this point in time, I am pretty much done. And if I go to my demo mailbox, you can see right here, this is with the typo and everything.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is how you would test your mail flow using the SMTP tool.
So with Telnet, you can test various things. You can test, does that user exist? Can you send to that specific domain? You can test hybrid scenarios. You can look at the flow connecting to the different hops, if every hop in between works. So I think Telnet is a really important tool that helps you verify on a raw level, as you said, to see if the internet connection is working and if there's any problems with that mail message. In terms of some of the other things that we can do with Telnet, I think it's important to stress to people that that you showed enhanced SMTP commands. So hello with the command. There's also just hello, HELO. So the H and the E that swapped. That and then you use simple command. So the EHLO is actually much more. It shows more information about the commands that are supported, the size messages and so on. So we would recommend that people use EHLO when they do Telnet tests.
Right. For the most part, the HELO is still available on a lot of the legacy, or it is available on legacy systems. It's just that it's not used as much anymore. We do much more with email today than just simple send, receive, a simple text message. Right now we're doing formatting, we're doing secure communications, and therefore just more commands were needed, which is why we had to enhance the hello commands.
Okay. So again, very valuable tool for people to use when they want to troubleshoot malware issues. Okay, and that brings us to the final topic of the tool section, and that is looking at high delivery or higher risk delivery pools. So this is actually really difficult to test and to demo because as imaginative as we can be, I don't know how to generate a lot of spam so that we can get
and nor do we really want to.
Yes,
right?
yeah, we don't want to put anybody in jeopardy here. So let's talk about the high risk delivery pool. How does that work, and what is some of the symptoms that you will see when this comes in effect?
The end goal of the high-risk delivery pool actually is to be transparent to the sender. We don't want end users to know. We don't want tenant administrators to even think about is this coming out the regular delivery pool, the bulk mail pool, or the high-risk delivery pool. We just want administrators and anybody who uses our service to know that mail comes in and mail goes out. As far as the specifics of it, there's really not a need to. But of course, the reality is sometimes there is the need to understand so that we can troubleshoot the issue. But again, the end goal, the perfect scenario would be where end users don't know where the mail is coming out. They just know that I sent an email and it got to where it needed to go to. So. Yeah, transparency is the key for the high-risk delivery pool.
Okay, so do we have resources that is available that explains us some of the things that we see with the high-risk delivery pool so that we can know if this came in effect in our tenant?
Well, the high-risk delivery pool information is going to all be on TechNet. However, since there are security concerns and there's reasons that we don't want to, we don't want to tell everybody about everything about the high-risk delivery pool and what IPs that are listed there, because of the fact that if people knew, then spammers would use that to their advantage and leverage it to use our service to send spam. So there is going to be a little bit of security behind it and anonymity of what information would be available. But if you just do a search in TechNet for high-risk delivery pool, all the information that you need is going to be available in TechNet. And again, the key to it, and if you believe that there's limited information, the reason for that is because of the fact that we do want to be transparent with how mail is coming out of service. It just either goes out or it doesn't. And then the second thing is, for security purposes, we want to be in front of any spammers and anybody who wants to misuse our service. Anybody misusing Office 365 would be a disservice not only to Microsoft but to the users, our customers, because it would degrade your service as well.
Okay, so is there a way for me to use this pool? Can I configure Exchange in a way that it will start using this pool? I don't want to use it for regular messages. Maybe I have some sort of marketing campaign that's going out. So how do I use or tell Exchange to use this high delivery pool?
Essentially, you don't. The thing is, in the same way that mail when it comes in, it gets filtered, and the mail going out gets filtered. That is just something that EOP is here to do, and it's going to do in the same way that it's going to send it out the regular outbound pool, or it's going to send out the high-risk delivery pool. That is just something that, for the most part, that's just something it's just going to be done, and it's not going to be in control of the end user. And it's not going to be, it's not something that we want the tenant administrator to be able to change anyways, because again, then all of a sudden a spammer can just, pay a couple bucks for the Office 365 and then become a tenant administrator, and then they just turn off, spam filtering, and then they just have everything, and then they just force everything to come out the regular outbound delivery queue, and then all of a sudden, our regular queue is listed on a blacklist somewhere, and our regular users are users who actually do want to send legitimate emails out are getting blocked. So we definitely want to prevent that. So there's a reason why we don't we turn off some of the levers, such as filtering or choosing what pool you would come out of.
So what you're saying is that you cannot force I cannot force my mail that is going out, or specific messages, to use this high-risk delivery pool, and I also cannot disable this. This is outside of my control. There's no way for me to say, well, I want to force my messages that looks like spam to go out the normal queues.
No.
Okay. So which type of delivery status notifications are handled through this delivery pool?
Well, anytime a message goes out of service and there's going to be issues, you're going to either get the bounce message or the failed message stating that it just was not going to be sent because of it was marked as spam, or or if it does go out, it would probably be looked at by an analyst and maybe given a higher a spam score or whatnot.
So these DSN messages are handled by this pool, and why would we see those DNS messages? So why would we see a rise in DSN messages in our queues?
Yeah. So if there was, like, all of a sudden you're outside of what we would, let's say, there's a normal day, just any average day, there's nothing really, special. It's not end of month, and you're sending out a lot of messages, where it's just a normal day, and then all of a sudden, your end users see a rise in delivery delayed status notifications. Then yeah, there could be a chance that the service or your tenant has a user that is doing some spamming, or there's a spamming attack going on, or some kind of denial of service where somebody is doing something on the service that is preventing. And that's the whole point of why people want to use Office 365, is we want to prevent that. They want to leave it up to Microsoft to do the actual management of that filtering and defending against spoofing attacks and things like that.
Okay, so this really helps protect you from maybe rogue machines that is inside of your organization. You might have one machine that is compromised, and it's a great thing that we have this. So with that concludes our module on the different tools. We looked at Telnet, we looked at message headers, we also looked at some of the tools that you have in the message analyzer tools and message traces and so on. So I think it was very valuable to see those tools in action so that you can use it in your organization to troubleshoot mailflow issues. And with that, come back to module 3, where we're going to talk about some scenarios.